Alright, let's dive into something that's been bubbling up in the business world lately, Leon's Furniture, and their strategic price hikes. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, oh great, another company raising prices, let me tell you why this is actually a fascinating move. Personally, I think this isn't just about Leon's trying to pad their profits. It's a reflection of a much bigger economic trend that's affecting industries across the board. What makes this really interesting is how they are navigating the fine line between staying competitive and covering their rising costs, especially with fuel prices skyrocketing. Here's the deal, Leon's, like many retailers, is getting hit hard by higher shipping costs, whether it's by sea, rail, or truck. And let's be real, fuel isn't getting cheaper anytime soon. So, their CEO, Mike Walsh, dropped a hint that they are planning strategic price increases. Now, what does strategic even mean here? In my opinion, it's their way of saying, we're not going to raise prices across the board, because we know consumers are already feeling the pinch. Instead, they are probably targeting specific products or categories where they think customers are less likely to balk. But here's where it gets tricky. Leon's operates in a space where affordability is king, especially for big-ticket items like furniture. What many people don't realize is that in this market, your marketing has to scream value. If you're not convincing customers they're getting a deal, they'll walk right out the door, or worse, click away to a competitor. So, raising prices, even strategically, feels like walking a tightrope. Now, let's talk numbers for a second. Leon's reported a slight dip in revenues, down 2% compared to last year. But here's the kicker, the number of units sold actually went up. What's happening? Customers are trading down to lower-priced products. This isn't just a Leon's problem, it's a trend we're seeing across retail. People are still buying, but they're being more cautious with their spending. If you take a step back and think about it, this is a clear sign of how inflation and economic uncertainty are changing consumer behavior. What this really suggests is that the middle market, where Leon's focuses, is under pressure. Premium customers are still splurging, but the average shopper is cutting back. This raises a deeper question. Can Leon's maintain its position in this shifting landscape? Personally, I think they're going to have to get creative, not just with pricing, but with how they position themselves in the market. Another detail I find fascinating is their cost-cutting efforts. Despite inflationary pressures, Leon's has managed to trim expenses. That's no small feat, especially when you're dealing with rising fuel costs and supply chain delays. But here's the thing, cost-cutting can only take you so far. At some point, you have to pass those costs on to the customer, and that's where the real challenge lies. Looking ahead, Leon's is also dealing with shipping delays from Asia, thanks to geopolitical tensions. This isn't just a Leon's problem, it's a global issue. But it does mean that furniture deliveries could be delayed, which could frustrate customers. In my opinion, this is where their strategic approach will really be tested. Can they raise prices without alienating customers, especially when those customers might already be frustrated by delays? What makes this really interesting is how it connects to broader trends. We're seeing companies across industries grapple with similar issues, rising costs, cautious consumers, and supply chain headaches. Leon's is just one example, but their approach could be a playbook for others. Personally, I think the key takeaway here is that businesses can't just raise prices and hope for the best. They need to be smart about it, understanding where their customers are most sensitive and where they are willing to pay a little extra. So, here's my closing thought. As consumers, we're going to keep seeing these strategic price hikes across the board. But what's going to separate the winners from the losers is how companies handle them. Are they just trying to protect their margins? Or are they thinking about how to deliver value in new ways? In my opinion, that's the million-dollar question. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. How are you seeing these trends play out in your own shopping habits? Let's keep the conversation going.